What's up, everyone? Red coming at you, and welcome back to another nostalgic look back at the old Star Wars games. Apologies for not uploading last week. There was house things that kind of stopped us from uploading. They arrived later than we expected, it went longer than planned, and so the whole weekly schedule thing just up in there, messed up, it's gone. But we're back this time, and we're continuing with our Jedi Knight series. That's what we're looking at. So we did Dark Forces 2 weeks ago, and this week we did Dark Forces 2, which is the first that has the Jedi Knight title in the game. So we're going to look at how it holds up by today's standards, as we are with all the Star Wars games, but also because the Jedi Knight series was a series, we can look and see how it kind of compared to the previous installment. That's the word I'm after. The previous installment in the game. So we had Dark Forces, then we had Dark Forces 2, so we can see how they compare between the two. So the few areas we're going to look at are, it's going to be the graphics, the overall gameplay, the story, as well as like the production value, how that's changed, the sound, stuff like that. So yeah, let's jump right into it. We'll go straight on to graphics. Let's go. So with the graphics, there is quite a change from it, and to be honest with you, they still actually hold up. The character models are, I mean, they're not bad. You've got a feature on the character. You can see eyes and a nose and a mouth and everything, though it's kind of squashed. It's like someone made an entire Star Wars character out of fucking Voldemort. They all got eyes and a head and a body, but they're not really lacking a nose, and it all just kind of blends into one looking face. And it's a little bit odd, to be fair. But there is a very distinct character model that you get to see. You have all the features for it, and there's the option to play in third person if you want to. I chose not to. If I'm playing a game like that, I tend to go first person. So there is the option to switch between first and third person perspective, and the third person obviously allows you to see the entire character, which we didn't have as an option in Dark Forces. Dark Forces, it was very much first person, that's you. Go for it, go shoot some things. They also improved the environment a great deal. The graphics themselves from Dark Forces to this one, Dark Forces were very samey. Everything was kind of hard to tell apart. This, they've clearly upped the quality that was available to them. And we have all sorts of things. You know, we start in Nar Shaddaa, so we have that kind of cityscape in Star Wars. You've got the pits of doom that if you fall, man, you're falling for hours. Like you're just, you're not recovering that. We had a level where we had traversing waterways, had running water, we had moving water through that. We had grasscapes, like grasslands. We had things. So it was all there where it has improved a great deal in what we actually had in the first one. But at the same time, you can't expect that to hold up. So it's still very kind of pixelated. It's very much so. Games nowadays, you see grass and you see, you know, grass. You see individual blades of grass. You see the whole thing. You can run your hand through it. Like that scene in Gladiator where he just runs it through the hayfield. But in this, no, it's like green squares. It's like green and black squares just put together. Green and brown squares to give the impression of grass. And it works, I suppose, to an extent, but by today's standards, it's not really enough. One of the elements that struggles graphically, which this will get discussed in another section of the video as well, is actually the game introduced cutscenes. Better cutscenes than what it was in Dark Forces. So Dark Forces produced, it has cutscenes in it which they tried to do more with. So again, taking nothing away from the fact that this game was done in 1997, they made a good effort at this. There's a good production value behind this. But they are also quite severely lacking in a lot of elements. They decided to go away from a kind of hand-drawn, cartoony sort of cutscene of Dark Forces and go with actual live action cutscenes. They have actual actors doing things. But because it's Star Wars, you have actors talking to droids or whatever, and those droids aren't good. They're not good quality at all. The droids are very much kind of these CGI characters, but the CGI is early, so the CGI is not particularly good.
Leaving so soon?
And when you have it early, and by today's standards, when you see it, it's very much a case of human thing that should be there, but it's not there, and we know it's not there, but they have to pretend that it's there, and it shows with the quality of it. But again, it was a very good effort from 97. And when we were playing it, because we obviously have to play this to get all the footage for you lovely people, one of the major things, right, I had to write this down, is my monitors are 1920 by 1080 resolution, okay? That's pretty standard for today's monitors. It's a solid quality, and that's pretty standard for a lot of things. But for this, the biggest resolution that you could go for was, I think, 1366 by 768. So trying to get the recording to fit was tricky. That took a lot of maneuvering to get the things to appear the way it was supposed to. But all the cutscenes themselves, when they did them, are rendered in 640 by 480. So I can play the game in 1366 by 768, but the cutscene will always shift into the smaller dimension, and then it'll go back to the bigger one on top of my monitors that don't really work. So you've got a cutscene this size, fitting into a game resolution that's this size, fitting into my monitor that's this size. It doesn't work so well, and it gets stretched out, and then you see those pixels a lot more. So what I got on this monitor, where I was doing the recording, I got to see the smaller image for the cutscene, and it was condensed. It looks okay, it's nothing major. On this one, where I was actually playing the game and have that 1366 resolution, that image got stretched, so you really saw the pixelation, like, in a really intense and strong way. And it became very apparent of how old this style of footage was and how it doesn't quite work. But when I looked it up trying to sort it, I'm pretty sure there's mod love you can give it. You can, yeah, you can spike it full of mods. You can get this thing up and running to whatever standard you'd want to. I didn't do that. I kept it nice and vanilla, because if I'm going to look at a nostalgic playthrough of the games, I shouldn't be creating some sort of modern, old school Frankenstein abomination thing that has ultra realistic faces in a 1997 game when everything else is still square. This is not Minecraft. I don't need that shit. And from graphics, moving on to, I suppose, the next most important thing. To some people, graphics are the most important thing. If I play a game, I want that shit to look good. Except, a game doesn't necessarily... A game is not determined on how good it is by how it looks. A game is determined by how well it plays. That should first and foremost be what determines a good game. A solid game should be your gameplay. And with this, I had so much fucking fun playing this. Oh my god. I was 4 or 5 when this game came out, right? I did not play it when it came out. I was 5. But I did play it when I was a little bit older, like 8 or 9. Like, that's somehow better. So I remember the first level in Nar Shaddaa. I remember playing through that, but I never completed it. Me and my dad used to 1v1 each other in some of the online stuff. We didn't go online, but we did the multiplayer LAN. Do you remember those days, or am I just fucking old? But we would mess about with that. We'd fight it because I like the idea of Boba Fett using a lightsaber. Going back to it now, I mean, that gameplay holds up. Running around the... Well, let's do this in a structured way. The levels, let's start with that. The levels can be a little bit frustrating because they built the levels to be kind of puzzly. It's not just go from A to B. You have to figure out switches here and there. You need to get keys. You need to activate this. Then you need to fucking book it to this side of the room to be able to get onto this box that's about to go through an impenetrable force field, because you need to use the box as essentially a lift to get up onto this. And if you don't get there in time, you miss the box and you need to go back and you need to hit the switch. And yeah. It can be a bit annoying at times when you have to do that. But they are designed in a good way. It works. It made for a fun time playing it. And you get... There's good progression as you work through it. And some of the puzzles are as simple as, I need this key. Well, I shot that guy, and there was a key next to him. And now I can open this door. Right, great. Banging. But there was genuinely a bit about triggering something that would move from left to right, and I had to get from across a chasm to get another switch that triggered a different one that I had to then use. But one of the things I noticed playing it is the standard for fall damage. Man, we've gotten soft. Like, see how, like, the actual distance that you can fall and take damage in new games? It's nothing. Geralt in the Witcher series is supposed to be near enough a fucking god. Monster Slayer 3000. Dude can die falling off like a 2-foot drop. Katarn? Fuck it, he yeets himself off a cliff half the time. How do you advance this puzzle? Jump down there. It's a long way. And he just takes it like it's nothing. And off he goes. Don't get me wrong, fall damage is a thing. Experienced it for science and my own dumbassery a lot of the time. But fall damage is a thing in this. It's just not there as much. So a lot of the puzzles involve you basically going, do I have to go down there? I don't want to go down there. And you're like, I can't see another way. I'm going to test it. And you jump, and that's exactly what you were supposed to do. And you don't take damage from it. But the modern gamer in me says you don't do that. So on top of all these puzzly level things, yes, the actual gunfights, the actual combat system, ooh, it's nice. I have to say. The Stormtrooper rifle, man, I love that. You just run through, you just pew, 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 and drop things. You're just wrecking them. Multitude of weapons, and I did not use them apart from the Briar pistol when I needed something taken out at range. And that thing's got some good range, and it's accurate at range. But the biggest development on this one from Dark Forces is we have a Y-axis now. Kyle learned how to look up. He can look up and down now, and he has actual aim. It's not no more of this Doom Dark Forces aimbot nonsense where you just point it at them and it'll hit them. No. The aim is actually yours now. You put the crosshair over them, pull the trigger, hit them. And if they're up high, look up. If they're down low, look down. Oh, it was so much better. So much better. I was getting the rage playing Dark Forces. Not so much with this one. I spent a lot of time playing this one. I say a lot of time. I spent a lot of the day playing this one. And it was so much fun. It was so much better. And that's a massive improvement on its predecessor. But one of the things they also introduced is come level 3, you get a lightsaber. Who doesn't want to play a Star Wars game and at least deal with a lightsaber somewhere? Dark Forces, Kylo's a mercenary. He's got a gun, go shoot some things. In this one, Kylo's a mercenary who for some reason gets a lightsaber. We'll cover that later. But he has a lightsaber and you get to use it, you run through, and you're just cutting motherfuckers up. You're able to deflect blaster balls, you can cut them and they die. You can cut them and the arm comes off. There's actual dismemberment, which the Jedi Knight series had. And you know what? It doesn't look that bad. Given that nowadays we've seen things like Clone Wars and the actual movies and Rebels where they've got like a really thin blade as opposed to what we're kind of used to. This one is more like a airport landing light. It's a bit closer to that in shape. It's just a point, but it works. It's efficient as a lightsaber. You get to go around, you get to cut it, and it also then introduced, because you are starting to learn the ways of the Jedi, you get force powers. So you've got 4 universal ones: jump, speed, pull, and I'm not sure what the other one is. We never got to that point in the game, but it looks like a sort of Jedi vision kind of thing. And then you've got light side, dark side powers. So, you know, the usual lightning, choke a bitch, light side, you can heal people. The usual kind of things. One's to protect and heal, the others to viciously attack. When we get to Outcast and Academy, I'm going to be using choke quite a lot. There's a lot of picking people up and going, whee! And just watching a stormtrooper go, ah! It's going to happen. I make no apologies for enjoying that. Yeah, in this, Kyle comes across a lightsaber. And he just knows how to use it. It's a thing. He fires it up. He's got a lightsaber, and he's suddenly a god with it. He's like, ooh, let's see what this can do. And he's deflecting blaster bolts. He's cutting people up with it. He's running through things. He ends up fighting the youngest of the Dark Jedi that we're up against, who is a Dark Jedi. He's trained. Katarn fucks him up because you're Katarn. And throughout the game, he fights more people. And then he beats the boss man. The guy that's never used a fucking lightsaber and looks at it with confusion. Canon says that's a no-no. Canon says, unless you're trained in a lightsaber, you don't get a lightsaber. You can't use it. But this was down 97 its code before the time that the fanbase went rabid over such a thing. There was a mere suggestion of someone who's never been trained being able to beat someone else who is trained, who just suddenly becomes a god at force powers. They go feral and say an entire series of movies terrible.
Anywho.
So, moving on to the quality. The quality of the actual game from a production standpoint. So we touched on the cutscenes, and that's a major part of it. So it's the cutscenes and the sounds. That's the two main areas where this game just upped its production values compared to Dark Forces. Dark Forces had cutscenes, and they were sort of drawn, animated. They were artistically designed in a way that we had the people talking, so we had them dubbed over as their mouths went, and they had words come out. Or in Vader's case, it was just, and it was good enough. In these, they switched that out. They got rid of the hand-drawn thing, and they created actual cutscenes. They tried to go for a cinematic feel on the game. They had that classic Star Wars opening. You know, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars, a rolling text of 3 paragraphs before it pans down to a planet and a ship comes overhead. Great. Fantastic. They stuck with that. They were very fond of using those horizontal screen wipes that George Lucas was so fond of, as well as using live action. They use actual actors to attempt to convey a Star Wars story. The acting is terrible. Fucking awful. The guy that plays Jarek, no idea what he was doing.
Excellent, 8088. The Valley of the Jedi will soon be mine. Your payment is waiting for you at one of my cargo ships. Meet it at the refueling station outside of Baron's Head. Saris! prepare the vengeance for hyperspace.
I should have aimed for your head when I had the chance.
A lost opportunity.
I want the map, 88.
All yours, Kyle.
In all my years, I've only known dark Jedi, never one from the light side. Somehow I expected more.
Genuinely no idea what that guy was doing. He's weird, he's creepy. The way they're doing the force powers are very odd. It's sort of like, you know, we've seen them, how it's like someone gets pushed, they probably, No, this guy was more like, and he's got this weird yellow glow around his hand, and then it makes them glow, and yeah, it's a little bit odd. But they try. The effort was there. The effort was there to attempt to make something more cinematic than what they had. And the Jedi Knight series, our main character that follows through is Kyle Katarn. So we have a live action Katarn, who is different from the voice actor in the first one, and is a different voice actor from Outcast and Academy. Outcast and Academy used the same guy, whose name was... I wrote this down. I appear to have not written it down. Our current Katarn is played by Jason Court. The other guy I can't remember. But Jason Court does not reprise the role, but he is both the live action and the voice for Katarn in this one. So they made an effort with it, and he's probably actually one of the better actors in it, and his voice acting is reasonable, and you know, they play through it. There was an attempt to make something more cinematic and feel more Star Warsy than what we're used to, I suppose, with some of the older Star Wars games. They made an attempt to make it seem like we were watching a movie or playing through a movie, and I'm all for that. Really, it's good of them to do it. Especially when the game was actually done. But they also made a very big upgrade on the sounds, on the music. So the music in Dark Forces, it was sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, like pixelated. Like that 8-bit music, it's kind of fuzzy, it's kind of pixelated music. In this, it's not. It's that John Williams score. It's that proper sound that's supposed to be, that fills you with nerdy power, that makes you think that you're about to just run through stormtroopers with a lightsaber and destroy them all. That might be just me. I feel like that's what it does. But on top of that, they introduced kind of like background sound effects. You could hear the traffic in Nar Shaddaa. If you went up onto a rooftop or a ledge, you could hear the wind. Fuck it, in some places that was actually an effect. It had a physics effect. Strong wind, you're getting blown off a ledge. When you're in the water, it's running. You can hear it. You can hear it splashing on the sides. You can hear the running water. They tried to give you background noise to increase that immersion, as well as create a more cinematic feel. I quite appreciated, I suppose, playing through it. And it then contributed to the story that we were playing through, that we were experiencing. And like any Star Wars game, there has to be a story. I mean, I suppose any decent game has to have a story. But any Star Wars game definitely has to have that story. It needs to make us think we're part of that universe, involved in a battle between good and evil, be it the rebellion against the Empire, if it's the Jedi against the Sith, or in this case it's Some random ass mercenary against dark Jedi, not Sith, but something. And this one was no different. It gave us a story that is basically starts with us seeing Kyle in a cantina. And he's talking to someone, and he's basically trying to figure out who killed Daddy Dearest, who I believe was Morgan Katarn? I think was his name. We're trying to figure out who killed Daddy Dearest. And the droid says that it was a dark Jedi called Jedi. And then we are, from there, trying to find Jedi. And in the second mission after that, Katarn's in a hospital bed. He has a vision that comes from a Jedi who we see get killed by Jedi, saying that we need to go to the Valley of the Jedi. It is a sacred place to the Jedi where there are many Jedi souls, and Jedi intends to go there and absorb their power and be able to create supernovas and destroy galaxies with a whisper. Even by Star Wars standards, it's pretty far-fetched, but that's the general premise. However, they obviously decided that Star Wars Dark Forces, Kyle Katarn is a mercenary. Kyle Katarn is a mercenary who joins up with the rebellion, starts helping them out, taking these paid jobs. After his parents are killed, the authorities tell him that the rebellion did it. He joins the Imperial Academy, grows to hate the rebels, before he finds out that, in fact, the Empire did it. They lied, so he defects to the rebels. Pretty standard kind of betrayal trope, you know. I think it's this person, turns out it was them. Okay, I'll now help the people I hated because I now hate you. Great, I'm all on board. That's what it was. The first thing we see in this one is Morgan Katarn telling Kyle how proud he is that he made it into the Imperial Academy. Great, banging. Right, so his parents aren't dead. So you've already changed the story. I'm assuming that's because we're now in the Jedi Knight series and you've decided that Kyle is going to become a Jedi. So if he's becoming a Jedi, we need to adjust some things and make some things work. So his parents aren't dead. Right, okay. That's not a thing. We also then find out that his father was killed by Jedi, who's the big bad in this game, not the Empire. This is set after it, and Jedic's like vying for control of the Empire, but he's not Imperial. And he's got a band of dark Jedi who aren't Sith. They're just Jedi who have turned. They all have their coloured lightsabers. They're not red, because they're not Sith. They haven't got to that point yet. So we get to experience that slight retcon, and then we're chasing after Jedic. And that's what it is. You're tracking the disc to find where the Valley of the Jedi is. When you get to the Valley of the Jedi, you have to fight some dark Jedi along the way. This guy's minions, Jerick and his band of merry men, and beat Jerick at the end. That makes sense. I'm the good guy. He's a villain. I'm going to kill him. But no Star Wars story would be complete without having a light versus dark conflict. Now, not saying that's a necessity. Fallen Order does very well without having that. Cal is just a Jedi. That's it. You don't ever actually have to do is it a light side, dark side, what do I do, where do I go? He's just Cal. In this, depending, it's not so much an RPG element, it's more how you go down your force path. If you choose to go light side, you can't take dark side powers, I think. If you go dark side, you can't take light side powers. And then based on which direction you go, determines certain outcomes. Which I will not spoil. But those certain outcomes play out in cinematics. They did those live action cinematics, so you get to see what happens. You get to see how it plays out. And there are different things that occur whether you went light side or dark side. moments in the game as well as a different ending, which is pretty good. So you have your standard story of, you know, rising to become a Jedi, to chase after the big bad and try and defeat him, and you have different endings depending on whether or not you went to the dark side or the light side. Cool. Alright, I'm on board with that. That's... like, that's not bad. And it's like, it isn't required, but it is there in most Star Wars games that involve the Jedi. As I said, not necessary. Fallen Order didn't need it, and it still worked. But to me, it does make it's a good touch, shall we say. So I suppose that then brings us to the last section. We've talked about the gameplay, we've talked about the graphics, we've talked about the sound, the production value, we've talked about the story. It comes down to, how do we sum it all up? We put it all together. And I suppose the basic summary is, overall, this is actually still a solid game. Believe it or not, it takes a little bit. If you're trying to play it, right? If you're trying to stream it, you're trying to record it, it takes some adjusting. See if you are playing it with no issue, man. Fuck it, you fire it up on your screen, there will not be a problem. There might be some resolution changes between the cutscenes and that, but it works. I had no problem running it. I had a couple crashes, but you save regularly, you're okay. And for a game that's 23 years old, 1997 this game came out, I mean, I can't really fault it. It was good. It worked really well. The character models are, of course, very of time, but you can't help that. But taking away that aspect, the visuals, it still holds up. We talked about this with Dark Forces, that a game that came out in 95 is never going to hold up by today's standards. We're at the point of expecting near realism. We don't have that in this game. So, of course, the graphics are always going to be a little bit iffy. But the level design with the puzzles and how that all works and how you need to progress through the level, that's done really well. It's still there. It still holds up. Because, of course, it's still there. I don't understand what I meant by that. It still holds up well. And it progresses in a really good way that you can work your way through it. The combat is just so fun. So much fun. And you give me a lightsaber and you let me cut off people's arms. Like, call me sadistic, alright? But if you give me a Star Wars game and you give me a lightsaber and you're going to let me go cut a bitch and they don't get actually cut from it, there's a problem. I'm looking at you, Fallen Order. I run up to a stormtrooper and I run a lightsaber through him and he's still intact. No. That's not how that works. You give a Jedi a glowing stick or a Sith with a glowing stick, shit's coming off of someone somewhere. Obi-Wan's got a fine collection of limbs of people that he dismantled. He's regarded as one of the greatest Jedi ever. The overall gameplay, the graphics, the production, they are all a big step up from what Dark Forces was. And the thing that you should remember as well is that Dark Forces was done in 1995 and this was done in 1997. It's not like a minor improvement. This is a big step. They went from hand-drawn animated cutscenes to live action acted. They went from like 2D visuals to 3D graphics. They went from not even having a Y-axis to having that capability as well as lightsabers and force powers. Like, there was a big jump in quality between Dark Forces and Jedi Knight 2. Which is incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive, I would say. We get games nowadays where they'll release a brand new one and it's almost identical to what we already had. All the Call of Duty games are almost exactly the same. The Forza games, I mean, I bought the most recent Forza one and it wasn't any different from any other racing game that I'd played. But people were talking about that it's amazing, it's fantastic. It's like, this is nothing special. I'm sure I'm in a minority with that thought process, but it didn't produce anything different from any other racing game that I've played. Back in this day, back in 95 and 97, this took a huge step to just produce this incredibly different style of game, I suppose. And things as well, there's 21 levels in this game, right? This is not a story-based or like an RPG kind of thing. This is a linear action game. Point A, point B, go. 21 levels. I got through 9 of them in about 2 hours. And I think it's a 3-hour recording that I had to be able to get the footage for this video. That involved talking to Gwen. That involved helping out with something. There was breaks in it. And that was 3 hours. And I got into mission number 9. So I'm on more than a third of the way through that game in like 2 hours. You could, if you wanted to, you could sit down and play this game and be done with it. And I would highly recommend it. This game is easily worth going back to. No, not a shadow of doubt in my mind. This game is worth going back to. Dark Forces, I wouldn't. I talked about that in the last one. This one, fuck yes. I'm going to finish it. Because I'm going to finish this game. I'm going to kill Jedi. That creepy motherfucker is getting shanked. It really was a lot of fun to play. I cannot stress that you should go back to this one. But that's it for today. That's it. If you've gotten this far, I thank you very much for watching the whole thing. You should definitely subscribe if you liked the video, and you should come hang out with us. We do our live streams every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. There will be more Star Wars content. We're going through all the Star Wars games that we can on the PC. We are going to be playing them and doing these kind of videos. So there's more Star Wars content to come. Any Star Wars releases will get played on stream. There will also be shorts from the stream nonsense, so you're not going to be short on content, is the hope. So yeah, you should definitely do that. You should come hang out with us, and yeah, if you choose not to, I still appreciate you watching the video, clicking this, and yeah, that's it. If you don't join us, you have a good one, and hopefully we see you in our time.